Hey, what's up, everybody? Alan Parr here, and this obviously wasn't part of my normal set of videos I was going to get out this week, but if you have not yet heard, or maybe you're from another country, something that's happening in our country right now is historic, and it's unlike anything I've ever seen, heard, or experienced in my lifetime, and to my knowledge, the lifetime of our country. At this very moment, while I'm actually recording this video, there are a group of Donald Trump supporters who have breached the U.S. Capitol and are basically protesting the results of the election. Essentially, there was a meeting where people were joining together and they were trying to certify the results of this election by counting the electoral votes of all of the states in the United States. And while this was going on, just a slew of Trump supporters rushed the U.S. Capitol. Many of them were climbing up on the building, trying to get in, trying to overthrow law enforcement. All the while, our president basically was remaining silent and tweeted a couple things, but never really told these people to stand down. On the contrary, earlier in the day, he encouraged them to make their voices known and whatnot. Now, this video is not a political video. So whatever you do, please don't try to pigeonhole me into me being a Democrat or a Republican. I'm going to go on record again and again and say, I am not a Democrat. I am not a Biden and Kamala Harris supporter. I'm not a Donald Trump supporter. I'm not a Republican. I am first and foremost a Christian, which is why I proudly wear this shirt, Christ over culture. Okay. So I'm not either of those parties, but this oftentimes is what happens whenever we get so wrapped up into politics. And I want to just talk about something just for a few minutes. If you just give me some of your time, this isn't going to be an unscripted video. But many people, whenever they vote for a candidate, they're all about the policies, right? Okay, well, I'm going to vote for this person because of their policy on abortion or their policy on same-sex marriage or whatever it is. And one of the things I think that we're learning here is that, yes, you should be for your policies. You should fight for your policies, but character is also very important whenever you are placing your support or pledging your allegiance to a particular political candidate. Because what we see happening in Washington, D.C. right now is a result of a leader that lacks character. Right? This is somebody that is not willing to accept the results of the election. I'm not here to argue whether there was voter fraud or not. That's not the purpose of this video, right? But for whatever reason, the Electoral College has certified or is trying to certify that Joe Biden is the next president of the United States. However you feel about that, right? But what we're seeing now is a result of poor character where you're encouraging people to do all the things that they are doing, firing people, blasting people on Twitter your Vice President Pence, who's not agreeing with you, all these different things. So I say all that to say that while you are pledging your support for somebody, just make sure that you look at their character, because when their character breaches away from what your personal values are, I think it's at that time that you need to really reconsider how much allegiance you have. Now, the next thing that I want to talk about, which is super important, is this idea of Christians getting involved in politics. And this is one of the reasons why I don't personally get involved in politics at all. Because whenever you put a Trump or a Biden Harris hat on, or you put these signs out in your yard, in your neighborhood, what you're doing is you are potentially basically limiting yourself to the people that you may want to minister to, or who God may want to use you to minister to people in your neighborhood, because the first thing that they see is not Christ. They don't see Jesus in your neighborhood. They don't see a Christ hat. They see a politician's hat. And if they don't agree with your political position, then you run the risk of them not even receiving anything from you at all, because they're like, I don't even want to go over to that person's house. I don't want to hear anything that they have to say, because they got Trump signs, they got Biden Harris signs all over their yard, and therefore I don't even want to have fellowship with that person. The question you and I as Christians have to ask ourselves is is it really worth it? Is it really worth it to spend that much of our mental energy and our emotional energy to pledge our allegiance to a politician, knowing that it could hinder us from evangelistic opportunities or discipleship opportunities or just friendship opportunities with people? Is it really worth it? I'm not saying you shouldn't take a stand for the policies that you believe are biblical. You should do that. But to pledge your entire allegiance to a particular politician and make that public, you might be just risking opportunities later to really minister to other people that God may want to use you to reach. The third thing that I really want to talk about very quickly is that politics, if not careful, can lead to idol worship. Listen, whenever you have a hat or a sign out on your yard, you have to ask yourself the honest question, would I be this bold to be able to represent Jesus? I mean, it's easy for me to throw on a Biden-Harris hat. It's easy for me to put a Trump sign outside of my yard, and I know that I'm going to receive criticism because I'm doing it to take a stand and draw a line in the sand and say, this is how I stand. If you disagree with me, then you're on the opposite side. We know that. We embrace that. We are willing to take that type of criticism for a political candidate. But the question I want to challenge you, Mr. and Mr. Christian, is, are you also willing to accept that same criticism by putting a Jesus is Lord sign out in your yard or wearing Jesus is King hat on your head? Oftentimes, we don't represent Jesus Christ that way. We're not emboldened enough to represent Christ that way. We're often ashamed to let our religious beliefs be made known in fear of how people may perceive us, or they may say that we're being not tolerant or exclusive or whatever. But we're very, very quick to pledge our allegiance publicly on behalf of somebody who's in the political arena. So that's something that we really need to think about. And then the last thing I'll say is I think that this has really taught us a lesson about judging, because it's easy for us to look at people who are protesting for something that really means a lot to them. And as they are protesting, we're saying, hey, look at those thugs. Look at those hooligans. Look at what's happening. That's not a peaceful protest turned into somebody being killed, somebody being shot, or somebody being hurt. And now it's a violent protest. That's why you shouldn't protest. That's why you shouldn't riot. That's why you shouldn't loot. But now, whenever we see people from the other side who are protesting proudly, right? It's all of a sudden, it's okay. It's okay to do this. Why? Because it's something that you may feel that is very important to you. So you have to be careful that you don't look at other people who are protesting and put them down and put them in a category and say, oh, they are acting unlawful. Why don't they just settle down? Why don't they just adhere to what the law says? But now on the other end, we see people from other sides also protesting. Why? Because what they're protesting for is something that is very important to them and something that's very near and dear to their heart. So we have to be careful that we take the log out of our eye before we try to judge somebody who has a speck in theirs. So here's my last point, Mr. or Mrs. Christian. Whenever you allow your politics to so blind you and brainwash you to be able to see, support, or even take part in something that we see that's going on in our country right now, a straight up raid on the U.S. Capitol. Whenever you have gotten to the point where you're supporting this, that is a dangerous place to be, my friend, because I'm going to say and go out on a limb and say that that very well may be a sign that you have elevated your politics above your own faith. Listen, if you want to support policies, that's fine. If you even want to support a politician and you believe in what they have to say and you vote in that way, that's fine. But whenever that person that you supported goes off the beaten path and starts demonstrating poor character, poor Christian character, right? The Bible says that we are submit to the authorities of the land, the government. You need to be bold enough to say, you know what? That's about as far as I'm going to go with my support for this person. I'm not going to get involved in something that is detrimental, that is divisive to our country, and potentially something that could hurt, harm, or put other people in danger. So I know this is a completely different video than what I normally release on this channel. I would love to hear your thoughts. Let me know in the comment section below. What do you think about all of this? What do you think about Christians and politics? Do you think that we should get involved? Do you think that we should stay silent? Do you think we should protest? Let me know in the comment section. Let's talk about it. I'll see y'all in the next video. Bye for now.